All right, what's going on, guys? JW here from Garage Hypertrophy, and today I'm going to be doing my first tier ranking ever, covering all the cable attachments that I use to help develop and hit my back. So I have spent so much money on cable attachments, like thousands upon thousands of dollars, and most of that has gone towards attachments that can be used for your back. And so this is going to be a big video. Actually, it's going to be an epic endeavor. But as like a bodybuilding focused home gym individual, that's probably like your main bread and butter. Is yeah, you might do some barbell rows if you're old school, but most of our jams is going to be on the cable machines. You're not going to have a lot of dedicated back pieces in a home gym environment. Although I do have one coming very soon that I'm very excited to show you guys. But most of your work is gonna be on the cable, and a lot of that work is gonna be done unilaterally as well. So that gives you a lot of options to attack your back from different angles. I'm gonna be ranking this based off of 3 factors, okay? The most important factor for me when I'm ranking whether any of these attachments are gonna fall in the S tier are the biomechanics of it. How does it allow me to express my biomechanics? Am I able to really focus tension directly the way I really want to in a unique way? Does it allow me to keep my shape in a way that allows me to drive a lot of local attention to a specific area? Because that's what's most important to me. For me, I value how effectively it allows me to express my biomechanics over anything. That is the most important factor. The second most important factor for me in a home gym environment is going to be versatility. And so while I will highly rank something that may only have like one use, if it does that use absolutely perfect in a way that I really love, if you have some versatility in a home gym environment, that's definitely going to bump you up in the rankings a little bit. Okay? And then finally, the last factor, the least important for me, is going to be cost. That's obviously going to be something that I'm still going to consider, but I mean, let's be honest. Would I be here in Newport Beach spending fucking $6,000 a month renting a townhouse if I was super concerned with being smart with my money? I don't think so, but it is obviously still a consideration, and I know for some people it is the most important consideration, so I will make sure to be clear on the cost and what I perceive as the value for each cable attachment. If you're in a home gym environment, don't start collecting shit. Get rid of it if you don't really value it, but there are a couple things that I have that I would consider just basic bitch items that serve the purpose for me, and for right now, I'm going to keep in the arsenal. All right, so these are what I would consider my basic C tier items, nothing special about them. I could replace them with a lot of different options, but currently I keep them in my arsenal for a couple different reasons. So first off, we've got just the old school traditional close grip row, okay? Now, one of the reasons I don't necessarily love this is a lot of people, they tend to be really compressed in their thorax, and that makes it so that they have no space available like in front of them, essentially. Their forward comes out here. So this is where you see the powerlifters will start waddling out. Same thing with their pelvis. That happens to your rib cage. And a lot of people lose that ability to pull in close to their body from a close grip because their elbows want to kind of go out. So it creates kind of a mismatch, and you don't really get the lat activation you want. You don't really get all the retraction activity that you would want if you are the type that doesn't have access to that space right next to your side. So for some people, this isn't the best option for rows. They do better with something a little bit longer, but it can be fine too. Like some people, they do perfectly fine on it, but not for everybody. I like it for a little more elevation kind of stuff. And then the main thing I use is if I'm doing pulls, a little bit of a lean back. That allows you to really keep your shape in a really good way and pretty good tension on your lats. So mainly what I use this for is pull downs, but it is an option for more trap heavy rows typically, but you can do some lats too. It's just hard to get to that in range because you need to keep kind of those elbows by your side to drive the lats. And most people, if you're excellently rotated or you're like me, you're just so fucking big, right? As you get close to your body, elbows are gonna have to go out. So not necessarily the best for lats for most people, but good upper back and decent for your lats coming down from a pull down position. But realistically, I haven't used this in forever, but I mean, it's there in case I want it. And this is just a basic one off of Amazon, pretty cheap. And I'm going to be showing you guys some demonstrations and how some of these things work and how to optimize them, but this is just, like I said, the basic bitch shit everybody knows. So next we got the lat pull down bar. Now I like this one because it's got a little extra width, allows me to go a little bit wider if I want. I like the grip, so I could go supinated. Realistically, most people aren't able to go fully supinated and keep good tension. Most people do better with like a semi-neutral grip, which I've got some other things later. If I am gonna go supinated, if I'm gonna have one of my clients do it, typically what I'm gonna have you do is not quite lock out. You're kind of own this mid-range. You might not even get all the way down, and you might not get all the way up, but you're gonna own that middle range. But usually I'm gonna use this for like just a normal pull down, a little wider grip. And usually I grab it about right there for me personally. So I use this sometimes. It does get in there in the rotation every now and then, but I could easily replace this. Eventually I'll get probably like the JD equipped version when I want to spend a little extra money, when I got money to waste. Not waste, that shit is beautiful, but not absolutely necessary. This will do the job. So tier C, lat pull down bar, also from Amazon. And so the last one I would put in tier C in this basic bitch category is just the good old tricep rope. Now, I'm a big fan of doing a cable lat, straight arm lat pull for lats. Really like it as a warm up. I really like it just to connect with the lats in general. And so typically I'm gonna prefer to go in a palms down kind of position, but some people, they don't really have the ability to do a full lat pull with palms down, like more pronated. They just don't have the internal rotation space, and they start to like anteriorly tip, or they like shape change a lot. In that case, it is a little better to go neutral. And since I do train clients here, I want to have a neutral option. And sometimes I just like having it as well. And so the way I prefer to do pull downs, straight arm lat pulls, is to start a little hinge to make sure we start fully stretched. And then I want to get a full shortened cycle and come up as I pull. And so sometimes it's better to go neutral. Sometimes even I like to go neutral. Maybe I'm extra tight anteriorly for whatever reason, and I'm starting to kind of like shape change instead of keep it on my lats if I go palms down, and it's just good to have this option. All right, so now we're getting into attachments that fall into the B tier, and the first one we're gonna look at is this beautiful thing right here. And I'm sure this will get more coverage in other videos where I'm covering triceps, biceps, cable attachments, but this is the 4-6 tricep bar, and it is awesome. If you're not familiar with it, it is so well made, so heavy duty and overbuilt. You got these huge end caps, which feel really cool. You got the mag pin that comes in the middle and keeps it fixed, so you can take it out and it becomes rotating, which is just awesome, because certain things you want to do fixed, like overhead triceps maybe, and then certain things you want to do with it rotating, like some of the back work I'm about to show you. So I absolutely love this piece. It is not cheap. I think it's like $300. That's why it's ranked in tier B with this video, because I'm only looking at it from like for back. So it doesn't have as much of it. Would not be worth that if it did nothing else. But as a cable attachment as a whole, this is S tier. But just for back, I'm gonna put it in B. And what I like to use this for is really kind of underhand pull downs. But as I was saying earlier, like I don't have the ability to stay fully supinated and hit a full range cleanly. Most people don't, and this allows me to get a position where I can maintain that. So I'll show you guys how I like to use it. You could also use it for lat pulls as well. I don't tend to do that. I just tend to stick to the rope or another tool I'll show you, but that is another option, and the end caps could help with that. So if I'm gonna do this on the back, I'm gonna take out this mag pin, this little mini mag pin, and let it go so where it's free floating. So this is super smooth when you're doing it as an underhand pull down. And you know, the bearings are just so smooth, it rotates so easily. The grip is awesome. I mean, this feels so good. Even if this did nothing else but this movement, if it wasn't so expensive, this might even go into A tier or even S tier. But you know, with it being so expensive as a back attachment, not really worth it just for this, but this is my primary choice if I'm doing underhanded pull downs. And like I was saying, you can do lat pulls with it as well. Just isn't my favorite go-to for it, but not a bad option. All right, so up next, we have another attachment that is ranking relatively low in the B tier, but that's because we're ranking it based off its ability as a back cable attachment, and that's a secondary function for this piece as well. This is the Omni bar from Bells of Steel. Super light, mainly used as a cambered bar for pressing, but it actually is a really nice attachment for pull downs. You could row with it too, but it's just so long, it's kind of weird and awkward. I don't really do any kind of rows, but I do pull downs, and I like the different grips, and I do like the little camber as well. And so one of the cool things about this is you could face it either way, and this position is giving me a slightly more supinated grip. The other, if I flip the whole thing, it'll give me a slightly more pronated grip. And so I like that little variability you have there. And it just feels really, really smooth, really good. I didn't really think much of it when I first got it. I was just gonna use it for presses, but I tried it for a couple back movements and it felt super smooth. So I'm gonna flip it around and put it to more of a pronated position. But I mean, this thing is kind of ridiculous as a cable attachment It's not the heaviest thing in the world for what it looks like, but it's pretty heavy to be trying to maneuver like this. So, whew, okay. So one thing about pools a lot of times is people, I feel like they don't like match their elbows and their wrists, which is a real simple way to like think about things, to keep everything lined up in a way that's going to drive tension and keep your shape good. So when I'm close, the elbows should be relatively close too, right? Makes sense. But a lot of times when people go wider, they kind of start to like tuck these elbows in by their side. You want them to go out. You want them to match that wrist angle. So I really like this for upper back work, kind of with this kind of a setup. And then I would actually flip it around and go slightly more supinated. But I don't want to take this off and do that again. And so flipping this around and being on this neutral grip would be more lat focus. So even though I only use it for pull down variations, I can use it in a way that's going to bias the upper mid back or in a way that's going to bias lat. So pretty cool bar, and as a press is awesome overall. Just as a piece of equipment, this is A or S tier for sure, but as a back cable attachment, we're going to put it in B. Up next, we've got some knockoff mag grips. I did not purchase these. They came with my rack. And I definitely think the regular mag grips would be up a tier from this. The handles just feel a little weird. I haven't used normal mag grips in a while, but I know there's a difference. And this doesn't feel quite as solid as a normal mag grip. It just feels a little off in certain ways. But this one is in the B tier. I have some that I rate above it, but just because of the width of this, I have a lot of other things that I can use in its place. So this does not get a lot of rotation, but sometimes I do like this kind of neutral grip row where it's just a little more solid than some of my other options. So I keep it around. I have gotten rid of some other ones. It's definitely my least favorite out of the ones that I still have. And it's like the clip is a weird size. It doesn't fit with my carabiners for my Vulture. It doesn't fit with all the clips I have. So it's kind of a pain in the butt. Hey, look, a new day. And not because I recorded an hour and forgot that my mic was not turned on. Not at all. We're gonna keep going. And I did realize that I misspoke. This awesome attachment is not quite as expensive as I remembered. It's not close to $300. It's closer to $200. So for that, I'm actually gonna bump this up out of this B tier and into the A tier. So I know it doesn't do a lot for back. It just does the one move I showed, but I just feel so good and I love it so much for that. It's going to get bumped up into the A tier at the cost of just over $200. And it's funny, I was on the Home Gym subreddit talking about this piece just in a thread, in a comment I mentioned it, and a couple people responded talking about how they wouldn't even like want to give their money to Force 6 at all. And I don't know, that's kind of, I don't quite get it. I guess I'm not in the Home Gym community deep enough to really understand what the beef is. I guess him and like he copied some of Darko's pieces, I think is what the complaint is, right? But it's like I don't know Darko. I've tried to reach out to connect with Darko. Not that I have to like connect with everybody in the home gym community or fitness community, but I know Force 6. I talk to him pretty often on Instagram. We follow each other. I think his products are fucking awesome. I love this piece. I've got the glute ham slider. I'm waiting on a couple other pieces for them to get in stock. I've got a piece you'll see later in this tier list. So I think he makes really good stuff. I don't know what the protocol is, what people like wanted from him. If he did do something similar to somebody else, like I think you can find something that you think is done well, and if you think you can do it better, like do it better. Like maybe like you just want him to like pay homage and be like, this is inspired by Darko, or I don't really know. Again, I don't know what the issue is. I'm not deep enough into it, but I do think that he makes really good shit. Now up next in the B tier, I've got the Angles 90 handles, which I covered in my D handle video. I went pretty in depth on that video over some of the best uses for the different D handles as far as setting up for more internal rotation or external rotation biased exercises. So I'm not going to really dive into the biomechanics like I did there, but check that out if you want to know more. But in general, these are really good. They're really versatile. You can pretty much use them from any kind of a row that you want. You can do a higher pull where you're getting a little more retraction and internal rotation bias. You can do more of a lat focused pull. You can do more retraction. You can use them for pull-ups. You can do a lot of things with them. You can change a pull-down bar into a neutral grip by attaching these. So I think the versatility of them definitely grants them in the B tier. They're not the best at any one of those, I don't think, but they do have some unique cases. Like I showed on the D handle video using these for rows on the Smith bar. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with them. So, and they're a really good price. They're cheap. They're probably one of the cheaper things you'll see in this video. So I definitely think they're a worthy purchase. I would put them in A tier if there was one move that I did with them regularly myself, and I just don't, because everything that these do, they do really well, but I typically have something that does it a little bit better for everything. So that's why these are B. If I had, you know, cost as a higher consideration, these would probably be at least A tier, because they are really affordable. Up next in the B tier, and it's kind of in a similar category as the D handles, is this spud rope. And I don't know exactly which one this is. I've had this for quite a long time. I couldn't find it when I was looking online, but it can be super expensive, and it does a lot of things well, but it isn't my number one choice for any of those things, really. But I do think that this is really versatile and durable, and comes at a good value, and it does allow you to express your biomechanics pretty effectively for a number of moves. So I'll show you the main couple of things that I use this for, or would use it for. So this is formerly my go-to for face pulls. I've been doing something else a little more recently that I'll show you. I like to do this two different ways. You can do one where you're just reaching in and grabbing over the top, kind of normal palms down face pull. And that's gonna be a little bit more of an IR bias. You're gonna get potentially a little bit more of your retraction muscles, your mid traps. And then a way I do it pretty often with a lot of my clients and myself is, instead of going overhand, I'll reach and come up under. And so that's gonna make it a little bit more of an external rotation bias. You could use it to actually bias more external rotation if you wanted to, or you can just get more rear delts. Probably gonna trade out a little bit of the mid traps, but you'll still be getting a lot of scapular retraction. And for a lot of people, if they're really stuck in a little bit more of a internal rotation bias, like that can be pretty good if they've got enough access to it. And this doesn't really fix you one spot, so if you don't have a lot of space, usually you can find a spot that works. So that's the main thing I like this for, but it's also really great for the lat pulls that I was talking about, the straight arm ones. And also what's nice about them, you don't even have to hold it. Sometimes if you got something going on with your elbows, it's better not to grip it at all, just to go open palm. And so it's also a really good option for that. And then of course you can just do your triceps and stuff. It's not my first choice for that, but mainly I'll use it for face pulls. And sometimes the length is kind of nice to have a little bit different length option for the lat pulls, because most everything else is a little shorter. So just another overall solid piece. And as I said with the Angles 90 handles, if I was more like cost conscious, if I was more responsible with my money, then this would probably be A tier. All right, up next in the B tier, we've got the Fake Prime spreader bar. I think this is from the Chorus.com, wherever it is, off of Amazon. Pretty cheap. Definitely not as good as the Prime piece, but everything in Prime is so overpriced. And I don't know if you guys have seen my other video, but fuck Prime. I don't really feel like I need to support them. I've supported them quite a bit in my past. So if you guys ever hear me shit on Prime, I don't like hate them, but my issue with them and why I don't feel bad about spending money on replica stuff is I use them in my old gym like a lot. I bought like $80,000 worth of shit at least. And this is when they had like a lead time. I think they originally quoted me of like 24 to 26 weeks. And so I was just opening a gym, and that was gonna take too long. So long story short, I got all this Atlantis equipment, and the plan was to have it for short term. I had a buyer like in line to buy it like 26 weeks later. Like I had it all set up. It was all good, like 28 weeks later. And then they ended up pushing back the lead time. It just kept getting pushed. It ended up getting pushed back like over 2 months, like 10 weeks later. And my buyer, like the timing just was gone. Like he had to have the equipment for what he was doing. So I lost on this buyer who had set up to take everything because of their lead times, which whatever, I get it, shit happens. I was trying to piece it out, trying to sell it. And then when like the finally got done, they were like, here you go, take it. And I was like, well, can you give me like a few weeks to get rid of some of the stuff that I've got sitting around because you guys took an extra 10 weeks to, you know, deliver on the times you said you would? And like, no, you got to pay like right away. Like you got to pay for storage. If we're keeping this for you more than a couple of weeks, you're gonna have to pay like, it was like a percentage. It was a crazy amount. And I'm like, come on, you can't even hold it for at least 4 to 8 weeks. And when you're 10 weeks late from what you said, I get it, that shit happens, but you know, let us clear out some of this inventory. So I don't know. So anyways, so if you hear me shit on Prime, that's why. So, but they do have decent stuff, but I will say this, I think they are vastly overrated. I think Prime is the most overrated brand there is. In fact, I got rid of all the Atlantis stuff for Prime. I wish I would have kept all the Atlantis plate loaded stuff at least. I think Prime has really good selectorized stuff, especially their, I forget the newer line, the newest one. I can't remember if it's Evolution or if it's the other one. I think that's a really great line. I love their leg curl, leg extension. I even like a few pieces on the other Selectorized line. They have a really great multi-hip that I love, but the plate-loaded stuff, I think is really overrated. Yeah, I think it's cool. You got the different loading levers where you can overload different parts of the range of motion, but it's not worth it if the machine doesn't follow the best path and it's not smooth. And now with Voltra, like it's not even that big of a deal. So I just don't think their plate-loaded machines are the best. Like their shoulder press, it sucks. Like you have to face the other way. It almost goes like backwards. I had their chest press. It's okay, but again, like just the arcs of it are weird. The incline is okay. I don't like the way it converges. So for me, Prime, super overrated for what they cost. But anyways, back to the spreader. So I put this in B tier. I was kind of torn whether to put it in B or A tier, but the truth is I just don't use it quite enough for it to go in A tier. Those gotta be things that are really part of the regular repertoire. So the way I do use this, typically I'll do like a chest supported row, which I really like because, you know, this is so wide, I can pull and actually get like a full contraction around the bench, around my Iron Master bench, especially since it's more narrow. So that's a really good setup that I like. And one thing I like about this is you can kind of switch it up. Sometimes what I do sometimes is these like continuous sets where I might change how I'm doing it, but still like do some of the basic functions. So what I mean is like I might start rolling one way with my palms neutral, elbows tight, and then I might end up switching it out a little bit, and I'm just making little variances to extend the set. And I'll do that from, usually if I'm doing that, I'm doing it from the setup over here where my feet are up and I'm pulling from a higher angle. So those are the main couple of things I'll do with it when it comes to back, and it does it really well. And this is a really good price. It could very easily be in tier A. I just don't use it quite enough, and I don't know, I'm just a little bougie. It just doesn't feel like amazing in my hands. Like it gets the job done, but like when I hold that tricep press down bar from 4-6, I'm just like, okay, this is money that is well spent. Like this, it's not money wasted at all, but it's like, it's dinky. You know, I'm a little bougie and this is a little dinky for me. Okay, so up next we got another Prime knockoff. This is, I forget what the bar it's a knockoff of, but it's the one where you can attach different handles to it. And typically what I'm gonna do with this is that I'm gonna either do like a lat pull where I'm kind of leaning forward on the bench, on the cable with that kind of elbow drive down. I like that with the knockoff rotate paddles. Or I'll do this, I don't really do it, but what I would do this for, if I was gonna do a rowing pattern like seated row, I probably would go more neutral grip. If something I could bias a little bit supinated like the paddle handles, probably what I would do with that, although I have better options for that. So I don't use this all that often. That's why it's in my B tier, but it's a good price and it does give you versatility with the different set options. But like I said, it's just not my go-to unless I want to do that lat pull. But typically I'm loading most of my lat work one arm. But if I do want to angle forward, that's what I'll use this for. That is something I'll do occasionally. Okay, up next in the B tier, I've got these torque D handles. Now, these are the only thing on here that you'll see that were given to me that I did not purchase, although as I mentioned in my D handle review video, I did pay like 20 something bucks in duty taxes on these from Pakistan. So I basically got them half off, or like I paid like a third of what you would have to pay retail. So in the D handle video, I covered all the cool uses for these because there's some really cool shit you can do with these. I really love it for shoulder work, especially bicep work, pec flies. In that video, I mentioned I didn't love it for pulls and for back work, even though Eric really had like talked it up and liked it. I just didn't think it was the best setup. It made me too flex at the wrist. Well, I went and trained with him, and when we worked out together, he showed me what I was doing wrong with it. I didn't know exactly what I was doing on it. So it actually works really great for your back whenever I did it the way that he did. And also, this is the only thing I have an affiliate code for and a discount. I don't know if it's released yet. It will be very soon. The code also works for the Torque Wedge, which is a great product I'm going to be reviewing soon as well. So that is my only affiliate link and code. I have one with Temple of Gains that I'm going to be dropping as well. So those are my only two affiliates as of right now. But if you want to support, that is the way to do it. All right, so I've got the cuff part on pretty tight. I mean, there's give to it, of course, but much tighter than what you would use for the other moves. And so I'm going to hook this. All right. Oh, that's a little heavier than I wanted to do for the demonstration, but this is really probably my favorite move to do with the cuff is this long underhanded lat pull, and that feels really good. So whenever I had it
too long. It was making my wrist bend too much and just didn't feel good. Now it gives me just enough little bit of flexion in there so that it takes a little bit off of my actual bicep and my gripping. It lets me feel my lats a little bit more. I don't know if I would really use this for other style of rows, but I really like that lat focus underhand pull. So that's the only thing I use this for when it comes to back, but it actually feels really good now that I know how to do it. And it's pretty good price. I think he said these are gonna be 59, maybe 55, I'm not sure, but I know with my discount, they'll be cheaper than 59. And they have way better uses besides that. But I did misspeak when I said they're not that great for back because they're actually really great for that. I just didn't know how to do it right. So these are the torque, I don't even know what they're gonna call them yet, but like these cuff D handles. We are now entering A tier territory, people. And first one up is this knockoff mag grip. And I like this one better than the other one. I feel like it's just a little more ergonomic. I feel like they just kind of got lucky. I don't know if they are the best designers for this, but they had another one that was similar to this and it just was a little funky, but this one was actually pretty good. This is probably my favorite one to use for like an underhanded pull down where I'm really trying to bias lats. That's the main focus. So obviously I love that tricep bar for like that kind of underhanded pull down, but that's gonna be like a little bit of everything. I'm gonna get, lats, upper back. The way this is, the way it opens your palm up and kind of biases you a little more like forward in front of you, this is gonna get more lats. So this is really great close grip underhand pull down for lats. You can use it for rows as well. Those typically just a lat pull down, and it's just so solid that I like this one a lot. And I feel like I could replace this with a mag grip, but then that would be more expensive. I don't think it would be really much better than this. For whatever reason, this is the same one as the other one I had in tier B. Like this is just way more solid feeling. The handle feels way thicker. I don't know what they did differently on this one, but it just feels a lot better. And like I said, you are gonna bias more lats with that more open palm position than you will when you're getting the little more distal compression in your fists. So remember, I didn't pay for these. They do have knockoffs you can buy on Amazon. These came with my Vander rack. All right, up next in A tier, we've got the Troy Supra curl attachment, which is really fun for biceps, but the reason it's an A tier for back for cable attachments is because, again, it provides a solution and a way to do something that nothing else, no other attachment I have does. So as you guys have heard me talk about, it's really hard to do pull work from fully supinated position. We just don't have the space to do a full range of motion that way. But with this, you can kind of do whatever you got. For everyone, that's going to be individual. Some people, their most ER position they can pull from and is going to be right here. Some people will be able to go a little bit more. So I really like this setting up with the Vulture, set up with the on the travel board. That's pretty much how I use this, and that's all I do. But it's such a good pump, such a good upper back pump, the way I usually do it. But you can do it to drive more lats too. It's just not typically my go-to. I'm usually doing more for upper back. But just having that versatility and the ability to move around a little bit and get as supinated as you can, it just feels really, really good. I don't have anything else that quite feels the same. So that is why this is the tier A. And I mean, it could be versatile if you wanted to. You could do pulls with it too, because it gives you that freedom. It doesn't feel bad at all. It just isn't my go-to with that. All right, up next in A tier, we have more Prime knockoffs. This is their knockoff of the, I don't know if it's a rotate handle, I forget which one it's called, but you guys know what I'm talking about from Prime. And this one isn't quite as noticeable as some of their other knockoffs. It is not quite as like smooth and doesn't feel as good when you're adjusting it. But as far as like the durability, it doesn't feel like flimsier or weaker. You can't see any shitty welds on this one like some of the other ones. And so I typically prefer to have something that's a little bit more solid if I'm doing pulls. Not always, but usually I don't always love the floating handles. It's not a terrible thing. Sometimes it's really great, but for whatever reason, like a lot of times I like to just have something that's a little more solid. And I like that this gives you the option to go from pronated to supinated because again, like I train clients here. Like I like to have variety myself, but as someone's structure is a little bit different, they're going to do better with different amounts of ER bias hand position and IR bias hand position. So for example, if you're the more narrow kind of ISA, you guys have heard me talk about that in some of the other videos. If not, you can always check out my other channel. I dive into stuff all the time, but the more narrow individual, the person who's a little bit more external rotation bias, they're going to be better with more of a neutral grip, neutral-ish grip, maybe slightly pronated compared to the wider ISA who, unless they're super compressed, they might be able to go a little bit more pronated and get the most benefits from that hand position. So it's just cool to be able to change it really easily. And I use this for pull downs and for rows. This still doesn't get a ton of use because I have another piece that I tend to go to a little bit more
if I'm doing a pure neutral or a pure pronated hand position. But if I'm going somewhere in between, then this is the one I usually grab. All right, let's just keep this knockoff theme going. And we've got the knockoff Chorus.com paddle handles. Again, I cover these in detail on the D-handle video, so check that out. But just a real quick overview, these are gonna be the best option to really target your lats. If you're driving down by your side, just the way it's the open palm position, that's gonna help you bias the lats. I mean, you can probably just feel it. You can think of it like real simply, like one of the things I was talking about on the D-handle video is how certain handles will bias you towards internal rotation, which is better for certain angled pulls, and some will bias you towards external rotation, which is better for other angles. So just try this. Tell me if this connects with you. Like just take your arm and let's say you're doing a lat focused row, frontal plane row, and let's go open palm and just squeeze the shit out of your lat as you bring that back. Okay, don't think about retraction. We're trying to drive down and pull back with not a ton of scapular movement. You should feel a really good shortened contraction of that lat. Now let's do it with a closed fist. Just making that distal compression is gonna change stuff. So as you go, like for me, I feel a fucking gnarly contraction when I close my fist. When I open my fist, it's 10%, 15% more. It's even gnarlier. Now let's think about it the other way. If we come out to more IR bias position, we've got less distal compression. Let's hold that, like, see what that feels like and just kind of contract through there. Do you feel a lot of like stuff between your shoulder blades? You should get some rhomboids, some mid-trap. Do it with your closed fist and you should feel a lot more going on between the shoulder blades in a more IR biased motion. So I don't know if you can connect with that, but that's just a simple way to show that distal compression or expansion has an impact on what's going on, you know, in the more proximal parts of your body. So this open palm handle is really good for lats, and it's like superior for any other cable attachment I got. So that's what I really use it for exclusively. Sometimes I'll use it on the other knockoff prime one I was talking about if I'm gonna do bilateral. For the price and how good these allow you to express your biomechanics, these are definitely a must-have in my opinion. I think this is the last knockoff. Unless some of you consider the 4.6 thing a knockoff, I don't think so, maybe. And this is another mag grip knockoff that came with my rack. And I like this because of how unique it is. It's so wide and it's neutral grip and it's really solid. And it's really my only option if I want to just hit that position. So I do have a bar I'll show you in a second where I could attach handles to and go neutral, but just having it fixed, I just like that option. It just feels a little bit better. So that's the only thing I use this for, are high, wide grip pull downs rather than the elbows match the wrists. Anytime you're using these mag grip kind of things, you got to make sure that you don't try to like tuck in through there. You got to have them going at that same angle. You shouldn't see excessive flexion at the wrist. So your elbows have to kind of go out a little bit. And it's just hard to recreate that unless you've got like a fixed solid bar. So not a lot of versatility for what I use it for, but these things are pretty cheap if you do get a knockoff of Amazon, and they feel really good. Okay, so up next, these are pretty new to me. I've only had them for like a week or so, and they were recommended to me by one of you guys on my D-handle video. And these are, I think they're called the gripless straps from Mark Bell. And I was originally gonna put these in the B tier, but after playing with them a little bit more, I think they may be worthy of A tier. And if you haven't seen them, there's two different options. There's a shorter one and there's a longer one. The longer ones give you a little bit more versatility. I'll show you a few of the things that you can do with them. So you stick your arms in here, and then you have these little straps available that you can like put your fingers in. I don't really love those. I haven't really found them to be super useful, but you don't necessarily need them for most things. And so one good thing about these versus anything else is if you're like fucked in your elbow, like really bad, you know, sometimes if it's just a little bit, just changing your palm position, like more open, where you're not gripping can help. But if it's really bad, if you're just loading like more distal than the elbow, that can irritate it. So this, for certain pulls, you can see you're loading like behind that elbow joint. It can really help you load your back if you're like dealing with some major issues. So, I mean, you could do some single legs, single arm stuff. You can imagine, you know, kind of like ripping and gripping. If you have trouble connecting to your lats, like, see, I don't like holding on to those that much. I'd rather just hold on to the strap. But if you have trouble connecting to your lats, just something activation wise like that could be good. And then obviously you can set it up if you want to do like the bench setup like I did earlier with the torque handles. You can do that with this too. You can play around with some different like lat pull variations. As I guys told you, I love to do different straight arm lat pulls. A lot of people, they lose it in the distal position of their hand. So this is a good option. I actually like this a lot. You can just kind of go palms flat and let your elbows bend on this one. You can kind of get a good lat pullover stimulus there. I mean, even if you like loaded heavy and you just were doing more of like a pull with bilateral, you could do that. Instead of going like a straight arm lat pull, you can do that bent elbow one, which again, sometimes that can really help people connect to. You can come off of here, off of your elbows. And this is something that I've been using these a lot for, since I haven't been using the spud straps as much as I've been using this for the same kind of thing, like the W's and face pulls. So I can just go in there, I can grab over the top. Now I'm in that over the top kind of grip where I can get more adduction bias, or I can do the same thing where I flip and come underhand and get more external rotation bias. Rear delts potentially. So that feels really good for those. That's the main thing I'm using that for. And since this is like a major move of mine, that's why this is in tier A. I don't use it for the lat pulls because I have an even better tool that you'll see in a second in the S tier, but it does feel really good for that as well. I just think it's cool to have something, if something went to shit, if you just really fucked up your hand, you couldn't grip anything, you cut it. I've had clients that have injured their hands. Or if your elbow was just really bugging you for whatever reason, you could still get some lat work, which would be really awesome. So these are in A tier and they're pretty cheap. If you get this together with the other pair, you get like 15 bucks off, and it's actually a really good deal. All right, we're starting to round out this tier A group. Up next, we got this Force 6 back attachment bar. It's got all the different attachment points, and it's pretty long. And so I got this because it was the most versatile and the cheapest. And I didn't want to spend a ton of money on this. There's a lot of other options just because I don't use this setup the most often. I usually will choose a fixed bar if I can get it set up right. I do love the versatility this allows and the ability to kind of manipulate your wrists and elbows as you go. But I have other tools that can do that as well. But this is super versatile. Like I don't really need it for some of the reasons other people might, but if you had like no heavy overhead pull down, like you could use this and make it connect these things from the side. This could be like a super long connector, rig it so you can sit and you can pull down from there, from the middle, get like double weight, or vice versa. You could rig it from here and pull both cable stacks, attach it from the middle, set up something. So it's really versatile in a home gym environment. I typically end up using this for pull downs. If I want to go pretty wide, palms forward, I prefer to use this over my normal metal, just traditional lat pull bar. Or I'll use this if I'm pulling kind of wider, and I'll usually use that with some handles that you'll see coming up next. So I like this a lot, super versatile, super good deal. I just don't use it all that often. It's not one of my go-to, so I don't use it enough to justify putting it into the tier S, but it feels really good, it's really solid, and it's a really good value, and again, it is super versatile, so definitely worth picking this up. All right, and rounding out tier A, we've got the scap strap from Stray Dog Strength from my boy Juicy Jake on Instagram, Jacob Nix, former MLB pitcher. Cool dude, he came by my old gym. He gave me one of his scap straps and I liked it a lot. Really nice guy. This one I paid for though. And the reason this is A tier isn't just the strap by itself, that definitely is part of it, but the other part are these handles that I got. They're just these kind of cheap rinky-dinky ones off of Amazon. These little rotating ergonomic ones. I was just getting a ton of different stuff off of Amazon to try it out. And these actually work surprisingly well for what I like to do. So this is another thing where I don't use this for a ton of different movements, but what I do use it on, it feels awesome. So I'm gonna use this for some kind of like a Y or raise where I'm trying to target my upper back musculature, my mid traps, my low traps, my upper traps, my rhomboids. It just feels really smooth when paired up with these handles. So I'll show you how I typically set it up. Okay, so typically what I'm gonna do if I'm focusing on back, I will do this a little different if I'm focusing more on rear delts, is I'm gonna get a little stagger stance and I'm just gonna go up like I'm doing the YMCA, and I'm gonna let these shoulder blades squeeze at the end. You don't wanna like immediately try to jump back and up. You kind of want the scapula to follow like a little bit of a path where it starts against your back, more like flat against it as it's upwardly rotating, and then you finish with a little bit more of a squeeze if we're trying to hit the upper back stuff. So it just rotates so smooth, feels so good with these handles, and the scap strap is just like the perfect like length, and having it just as one piece makes it stable enough. And you can change it up, make your set a little more variable. I mean, you could hit lats from here. You could turn into W's. You got a lot of options to extend the set. Typically I'll do Y's, but like I said, you can do W's, you can do all kinds of stuff. Any handles will work, but I really like the way these feel on it. I don't use these handles with anything else. So that is it for tier A. Are you guys ready for tier S? What is gonna make it to tier S out of all that shit I got? Like, what is good enough? Let's check it out. All right, first up in S tier, we've got the Atlas bar. Now, as I said, I can rank something very highly even if I only do one thing with it, if it does that thing perfectly. And for me, this is the perfect cable straight arm lat pull bar. And it's also really good for my clients because a lot of times when people are trying to do the pull, they get weird in their wrists and their hands. They're not able to finish through and drive tension. So I really love this a lot because it kind of makes it hard to fuck it up. You can use this for bicep curls, it's pretty good too, but this is the only thing that I use it for. And so when you get into the bottom, you just wanna make sure that you finish with your knuckles down, like straight down. And the way that this just lines things up, it makes it a lot easier to finish with the right position and not overly trap up. And it just takes away a lot of like disconnect that people get as they're getting towards that end of the rep range. It allows you to maintain that compression force a lot easier, a little less coordination. So that is it. That's the only thing I use this for. And that is worthy of it going in the S tier because it's so good at that. And it's not gonna break the bank kind of thing. They're not too expensive at all. It does work better with a swivel on it. So if you don't have one, definitely add that to it, a swivel shackle. All right, my next S tier cable attachment is this thing that I just kind of jerry-rigged myself. I guess it was kind of inspired by the dynamic spiral tricep thing that they got that's like on a pulley. So I bought this pulley originally, and it's a really good pulley. I bought it because I was trying to double my felt load using the Vulture, especially for belt squats. But I got the second Vulture pretty soon afterwards, so I didn't really have a use for this, and I wanted to see if I could kind of recreate what's going on with that tricep. So I got a few different lengths of cable, and I can do some different things with it. It worked pretty well for the tricep attachment, and I thought about what else I could do with it. And so I got a longer attachment, and this is really fun to play with because you can switch up the handles, obviously, and that gives you a lot of variety that you don't get with some of these other attachments. Even though it does similar stuff, it gives you that variability, and it also adds that dynamic stability component and the ability to do like myo reps or to do like a drop set by just doing one side at a time. So I'll just kind of play with this and show you a couple of things that I've found that I like to do with it. And so right now I have these kind of cheap Amazon handles on there, and they feel pretty good for quite a few things. But again, I do put other things on here too. So I mean, you have the option just to do your straight arm lat pull, which feels really good with this. The good thing about this is, again, you could do one arm at a time, keep good tension on there. Something I like to do on this is like this crossbody fly. It feels really good. You're able to get really good expansion on the arm that's coming across, more so than if you were like just to face it and square up with it. So that feels really good. I'll kind of alternate back and forth on those guys. And then again, you could turn it into all the same face pull stuff. I would probably switch the handles, but you could play with those as well. And I mean, the other thing with this is you can just be super creative. You can do a really long extended set. I could do straight arm lat pulls from the side, which is a really great option. You just have like endless capabilities on things that you could do with this. And so I really, really like this guy a lot. And it's pretty cheap. I mean, this pulley wasn't cheap. This was pretty expensive, but you can get a cheaper one. I just got this because I wanted something good for the Vulture. Cables are super cheap on Amazon. I think those are like $9. I think they're all $9 for whatever length. And I think these attachments are like $20. So you could make this for probably like 30, 40 bucks. And then, you know, you could change these out as you want it. So really like this piece. And I do the same thing with the shorter cable I've got. And so I was kind of inspired by the track handle to try to recreate something using this. So I got the smaller cable, and I'll use that for rows a lot. That feels really good as well. So I'm kind of combining those together because you can trade out the cable length. So definitely A tier and worth playing around with and seeing what you can come up with. Another A tier item is something I like to use with this pulley as well are the shorter strapless or gripless straps from Mark Bell. And I love these for a few things, but I'll show you how I use them with this real quick. And this is actually recently, since I just got them over the last week. They're pretty new to me, but this is the way I've mainly been doing my face pulls, is I'll use this. It just feels so good. So I'll do my pulls from here, and it is so money. And same thing, I could reach underhand as well. And then you have the added variability to do isometric work, which I'm a huge fan of isometrics, not just for muscle building, because it can help you build muscle, but what I like to do it for is to teach your body how to maintain shape under force. And you actually will get a better expansion to compression gradient on one side if you're kind of, not compressing bilaterally together. And so this feels so good. This is my favorite way to do face pulls currently. I mean, you don't even have to hold it all. You can do a lot of cool stuff with this piece. I like it a lot. Now, as I said, the DIY pulley itself is S tier, but these straps just by themselves, even without the pulley, I would say are S tier as well. I kind of bounce between these and the knockoff prime paddles for lat focused stuff. Unless I'm like going really, really tight by my side, if I'm coming off at all, usually I will use these. And even if I do come really by my side, I'll bounce back and forth. And it's kind of the same thing. You have that open palm, you're not gripping. You can grip these harder too. That's the other thing. They do have versatility because you can use it for IR bias stuff too. They're still not my go-to, but they feel really good. You can grip and pull apart like that as well. Like if you make a fist position as you're rowing, it'll feel good. Like that is an IR bias kind of thing that I can't really do with the paddles or some other things. In general, this will bias you towards ER, but it also feels really good if you do want to do higher pulls. But typically I'm doing single arm stuff on it. But these feel awesome, super cheap. Like I said, if you buy this with the long ones, it's like $15 off. You can't beat that. Definitely worth the purchase. Thank you to whoever commented them in the other video. If you guys have suggestions, let me know. I'll buy them and let you know how they feel. All right, up next in the S tier, we got these Trinity handles that are 3D printed from 3D Fabrication. And I covered these in the D-handle video, and they are my absolute go-tos anytime I'm trying to get kind of a pronated palm down, a deduction, IR biased pull. Usually I'll do a single arm, that's my go-to, but you can attach these. I'll attach it to that long bar from F6, and I could do those, that's fine, but there's just no way to really recreate the way this drives tension through the inner hand contact points to drive IR. And it just has such a good grip. The knurling, I got the extreme knurled. It just feels so good. These are relatively cheap. You could get the single if you're only doing like single arm pulls, and you can just flip it. When you get a double, if you're OCD like this, it does make a difference. The screws are on the other sides. So it does help because when I'm doing single arm, I'll switch. I don't want the screws on the top part. I don't know why. I can't even feel a difference, honestly, but I know they're there. So if you get a pair, I think they send it to you like that. But if not, you can just use one if you're just doing single arm stuff and flip it over. And I think that's a pretty good deal. So again, I cover these in depth on the D-handle video. Check it out. But these are absolute money. Again, a specialty piece. They're not going to do a ton of other things, but they're going to be your single best option for driving the elbow out by your side and do more of an IR bias pull. And finally, rounding out the S tier of cable attachments for your back, I've got the Iron Masters like multi-row. I forget what it's called. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised too. Like it looks a little bit rinky, and not rinky dink. It looks like you would think something from Iron Masters would look like, right? Like stuck in time. And I think you're either an Iron Masters person or you're not. And I think I'm an Iron Masters guy. I just got the bench. I absolutely love the bench. I originally wasn't going to put this in S tier. I had this in A tier, and I just kept coming back to it thinking, that's what I end up going to. That is my go-to for like a very vast majority of my pull downs and a lot of my palms down rows. And so I don't know why. I mean, it's got good knurling. It's easy to adjust. It's just like the right angles. For whatever reason, it's like my comfort piece. I haven't had it for a super long time. I've had it for like maybe 2 months. But in those 2 months, it's become probably like my primary use piece that isn't a D handle. Like I still use the D handles the most for my back work, but I just keep going back to this. And even if I can't quite put my finger on what it is that makes it feel so good, that counts for something. The fact that it has just found itself in my rotation. So as I mentioned earlier, I'll use the knockoff prime one if I want to go in between fully neutral and fully pronated. But if I'm using either one of those grips, I use this guy, and it just feels really good. Like, of course, there are other options, but this didn't cost a ton, and it does have versatility. I don't do a lot of T-bar rows, but you can do like a T-bar landmine row using this. So I think this is a very worthwhile investment. It looks kind of out of place with my stuff, but there's just something about it. I don't know. Like it calls to me. I don't know if it's nostalgia. It makes me think about the 90s when I was growing up, but it just feels really good. Like it's heavy duty but lightweight at the same time. So this is S tier for me for sure. And like I said, I'm really liking the Iron Master stuff. Looking forward to really breaking the bench in a little more. I'm gonna do a review on that as well, because I don't feel like there's been a real recent review on the bench, especially from like a bodybuilder perspective. So that does it. That is the last cable attachment. That is a lot. Sorry, went really like nerded out on that. But if you're like me and cable attachments are kind of like your favorite thing in the home gym environment, hopefully you found this helpful. And again, shout out to my man, Joe Gray. Definitely inspired me. Your cable videos were super helpful. I'm gonna do a very similar series. So this is just the first of that. Be on the lookout for the others. If you guys have any questions, comments, or suggestions, drop them below. As I said, I'll put my couple of affiliate links down in the description. Don't have much, but it's starting to go. I'm getting some free shit now. I got something free coming that I'll do a review on as well. So a lot of stuff happening. Appreciate the support. Thanks a lot, guys. Peace.